Hello children, I hope your balloon making is going well, but I know that some of you may not have received your pack, including the template. And if you would like to make one at home in the meantime, perhaps you have some paper at home, or maybe you want to make one later on and your old template either got lost or damaged. This is how you're going to make a new one. So if you have a compass at home, you could use that one to draw the semicircular shape here. If you measure roughly 9 centimeters span, and then pop it on your paper and draw the circle like that. You can go all the way to the line. After that, you need to draw the horizontal line and just adjust this shape. However, I know some of you may not have a compass at home, in which case I'm going to show you another way to do this. So you could use any circular shape that you have at home, whether that's a glass bowl or perhaps a lid of a pot. Pop it on your paper like that. So try not to go quite right to the edge of the paper. You'll need to leave a little bit of gap. This is just to allow for the possibility that you may not overlap your papers precisely. So it gives you a bit of a leeway. Just draw the shape around your glass bowl in this case, all around like that. It might be easier if you do it all the way around. Lift it up, and you now need to find where the middle of the circle is. The easiest way to do that is if you take a piece of paper again to a window so that you can see the lines of the back of the circle as you're folding it. So fold it over and you're trying to find the middle. So you're lining up this part of the circle with the other side. So do that in front of a light. It should look like this. Along your folded line, draw a line. So you could use a ruler if you have one, hopefully, because you are going to need one later to measure the spaces between for your lines. So just draw one straight line along the folded edge. To get this curved line at the bottom of the balloon, you just need to do this by hand. So just draw it by freehand. You need to again finish just a little bit short of the edge of your paper and roughly shape it like that. So it doesn't really matter what it looks like. I mean, it's up to you. You can make it more curvy like this, or draw another line like that, or a bit more tapered. It's really up to you how you think you'd like it. You can rub this out, the other lines, but it doesn't really matter. It's not crucial, because you're going to be drawing lines vertically this way for your A and B lines. So how do we know how to divide paper? So we need to first of all measure our paper. So this is an A4 sheet of paper, standard printed paper size. If we measure along the across, you're going to see that it's around about 21 centimeters wide. So we need to now divide our 21 centimeters into how many lines? If you look at it here, we have A and B lines, and we need to have an even number. So A and B, if it's repeating in pairs all along. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8 lines. So we're going to, and this gives us 7 equal spaces plus 2 halves roughly. So in total 8. So we are dividing our 21 centimeters with 8, and that will give us roughly 2, 6 to 5 centimeter gaps. Now, to make it easier for us to mark, we can round it up to, or down even to 2.5 centimeters. Now we need 7 of the actual full spaces. So if we time that by 7, that will give us 17.5 centimeters. And then our 21 minus 17.5, that will leave us with 3.5 centimeters. Now we need to divide the 3.5 centimeters in 2, because we need a little bit at the front, a little bit at the end, and that will give us approximately precisely 1.75. You can round it up to 1.8 because you can't really measure half a millimeter. That's going to be very difficult. So we are measuring basically 2.5 7 times, and then we need 1.75 2 times right at the ends. So you need to measure those. So you're going to go from the end. Now I recommend you coming down because you're drawing 2 lines, so you don't want to measure 3 times. So if you come round about here and measure your 1.75, so call it 1.8 millimeters, so you're coming round about here, and then do that at the top again. Round about here. You can see that. Right, and then you can draw the first line if you wish at this point, because you might make it easier to measure from this line the remaining 2.5 centimeter gaps. There we go, just draw a line like that. This will now act as a starting point for all our measurements for 2.5 centimeters until we get to the end. So just line it up like that and measure 2.5 centimeter spaces. So 2.5, then you get to 5, etc. After you measured all your dots, you can then draw your lines across. You don't have to go the full length of the paper. And now that we started the whole length, I will carry on like that. Okay, so we have marked our vertical lines, so we can now write our A, B's, etc. So A, B, and carrying on till the end. If you prefer to work in inches and have a ruler with inch marks, this surprisingly may be even easier to measure in inches. Because it happens to be that the A4 sheet of paper is 8¼ inches wide. So we have 8¼ inches, and we need to split that into equal spaces. We have 7 of the wider ones, and then 2 which are roughly equivalent to 1 extra. So those 7 are roughly 1 inch wide. So we have 7 spaces worth of 1 inch, so 7 inches to take away. That leaves us at 1¼ inch to divide in half. Now 1¼ inches divided in 2, how much would that be? So if you think about inches, they always split in half every time you want to get to the smaller measurement. So we have 1 inch, then we have 1/2 inch, then we have quarters. Then they split in half to give us 8s, then they split in half to give us 16s, and then right at the bottom of this ruler we even have 1/32 of an inch. So our 1¼ inches that we've got 4 quarters in this one. With this extra quarter, that gives us 5 quarters. So we can write this down as 5 quarters. Now, what is 5 quarters? If we come down on a ruler 1 step lower, that becomes 8s. And then 5 quarters is now, if we have them as 8s, it's 10 8s. And then our 10 8s now, if we want to divide by 2, that becomes now much easier, and we can have that divided as 5 8s. So on your ruler you can find your 5 8s, it's very shiny, isn't it? 5 8s, which will come roughly about here. So you go 1 2 3 4 5 8s, which comes in here, and you can use that to measure your first space, and then all other spaces are nice and easy because the inches are so nice and big, and you just go and measure 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 inches, and then whatever's left. So that's your calculation for measuring it in inches. So once you've done the template like that, it's ready to paste really. So you've got your A lines and B lines, and you're ready to go. You can rub out the earlier markings here. it might be easier to see and help you choose what sort of curve you like for the bottom of your balloon. Remember to mark or rub out the one you don't want, because you don't want to mark the wrong ones after you pop your first sheet. Remember, we then traced it as well, and this is going to be our template later on to mark all of our piles as you're gluing it. That's in the gluing video. Now, just to show you as well how we divide the actual paper into these strips, as you can see, they are thirds. So we are dividing our A4 sheet of paper into thirds this way. So we're going to mark each point at the top and the bottom, draw the lines, and then cut it through. We need to measure that first. So if you use your ruler again, that is just a little bit short of 30 centimeters. It's 29.7. So you've got to divide your 29.7 centimeters by 3. And that is just a little bit short of 10. So it's 9.9 centimeters. And you are going to mark those at the top and at the bottom. You only need to make 2 marks, just a little bit short of 10, and again a couple of millimeters short of 20. Mark it at the bottom as well, and then you need to draw your lines, and you cut your paper into thirds. This way there is no wasted paper. If you're making a smaller balloon, maybe you can make some sort of combination so that you utilize the paper the best as you can, or perhaps you have some scrap paper that you can use. Don't forget, you can also, instead of making a balloon shape like this one with the added part at the bottom, if you have some smaller pieces of paper as well, that would work well. You can actually make just a circle, so you can do just a circular shape, which is a ball. So you're going to just have a ball without the bottom part as a balloon. So play with it, have fun. You can experiment later on as well if you want, and maybe have a wider honeycomb shape on a different balloon. To do that, you need to have your gaps wider than the one we've just done. So you will drop some of the A and B lines. Try to drop them in pairs again, so you drop 2 and then just space them out a bit wider, and you can make a balloon to be smaller, or if you have bigger papers you can make it bigger. You can also use different types of paper. This is 80 GSM paper. Don't use thick card, they are much harder to bend and mold, but you can use thinner tissue paper as well, but then they are much more delicate, so be careful when you're stretching them across the balloon. I do hope that you enjoyed watching my videos from the series of the Easter Bunny's Big Balloon Adventure, and I really hope that your balloons turn out beautifully and that you're really proud of them. I would like to wish you a happy Easter, and if you would like to subscribe to this channel, I may be able to put some more videos in the future about the different things to make and have fun. So thank you for watching, and I hope to see you soon, and bye bye.